Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
PMQs.
Do we also hate Joni Mitchell doing blackface?
Yes.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Amanda Seyfried covered California on the Jimmy Fallon show.
Yes.
And so Joni Mitchell has been back in the narrative. A lot of young people on TikTok are discovering Joni Mitchell. They haven't yet discovered Joni Mitchell's love of blackface.
No. We should keep that in our locker for if she ever tries to cancel us. We whip that out.
Interesting that she's Canadian, isn't it? Because there's that makes two Canadians that I can name off the top of my head who've done blackface.
There's a Canadian folk singer who was famous as she made a big thing about her First Nations identity. She was presented as the First Nation, the voice of the First Nations, whatever. She doesn't have a bit of First Nations blood. She's of European ancestry.
Pocahontas energy. No. Gimme, gimme, gimme PMQs at midday, as ABBA famously sang.
That's cute. I like that.
Roll the clip.
Yeah, go on, let's go straight in. Roll the clip.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is out of touch because he should know that nurseries are charging over £2,000 for full-time care. That's £24,000 a year after tax, and he's talking about 60p breakfast clubs. He has no idea what people out there are experiencing, and it is not just the families. Even councils must pay his jobs tax. To cope with it, the average council tax bill is increasing by over £100 in April, after he promised to freeze it. Hard-working families' money is going to the Chancellor instead of social care and fixing potholes. Why should these families pay more for less?
Triple screen.
That was good.
Surrounded by PMQs right now. For listeners who aren't aware, we have 3 TVs in the studio. Up until now, only one of them has ever played PMQs. We were just bombarded with Kemi Badenoch.
It's like being in the IMAX.
I loved it.
That was insane.
Yeah.
You said for people who are listening, but people who are watching, presumably, we don't...
Well, maybe they will have seen our initial shock. Because they sometimes put picture in picture.
Oh, no, don't worry. No one has been bothering to cut our mics out when the clips roll, so they'll have heard it as well.
You'll hear us shout, 3 screens!
Before we discuss this clip, I want to have a bit of a moan about PMQs in general, which is a break from tradition on the programme. I am bitterly disappointed with the quality of the contributions being made in Promises Questions, Ava Santina. Everyone's reading off pieces of paper, sometimes word for word. Learn your speech. It's 30 seconds long. You know you're going to ask a question. Either learn it rote or just have a rough idea of what you want to say and stand up and say it. You're a politician. It's your job. And secondly, I thought Keir Starmer was on spectacular form for not answering what people asked him. 2 standout examples. One was Ed Davey asking him about disability benefits. And the second was Andrew Rossendale asking him about a public inquiry into the murder of Sir David Amess. And Starmer, he didn't even address the will he reverse the decision over a public inquiry. He just paid tribute to David Amess and said he was meeting with the family later today and then sat down again. And I think if someone of a different political tribe, i.e. Boris Johnson, the Conservative Party, was failing to answer the questions in the manner that Starmer is, people would be losing their minds.
Okay, so we're going Oxford Union debate in the way that we're going to be interacting with each other today. I'll take your first point.
And then come to the second.
And then I'll come to the second.
You'll take them chronologically.
So, yes.
Thank you.
So, what is it that you have to stand up and say if you want to interject?
Point of order?
Is it point of order?
That's at the end, though, isn't it?
Point of information?
No, but during it.
In the Oxford Union or in I don't think you can point of information in the chamber, can you?
I think you're right. No. At the Oxford, I think it is point of information, isn't it? No, something like that.
So that's certainly at Model UN.
It's... But Model UN, of course, is really it's by the book and it's more strict, some would say, than the Oxford Union. Anyway,
less power.
Okay, so taking your first point, thank you, Christian Calgi from The Express, for joining us today, because that is a point that he would make.
I like Calgi. I think that's an insult. I'm a fellow traveller. I'm a fellow traveller.
Mm-hmm. Secondly,
yeah.
I would say, well, yeah, I agree with you. I also think that that's because the chamber has changed dramatically over the last 30 years. And I would argue that's probably because of the cameras, and it's because of the social media moment that most of those MPs who've got a question are now hoping for. So instead of, debates would go on for 10, 11 hours, right? And it would just be people sort of standing up and just saying whatever came to mind. Now it's a lot more polished. MPs just arrive to give their statement and then they leave almost immediately. I think reading off a piece of paper is disgraceful. And I actually wonder if you should even be an elected representative if you can't learn
Amen.
2 little points. Because how much do you really believe in what you're asking or saying or care about it if you can't memorise it?
It's a real peek behind the curtain because obviously the government will place questions, and if you've never seen the question before, and they're just like, does the Prime Minister agree with me that he's doing a wonderful job? Like, if they were allowed to ask something that they actually cared
that he's
about.
doing a wonderful,
Prime Minister, I can't read your handwriting. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think we have to cop to some part in this? In our platform of
virality.
Clipping.
Yeah, our
MPs.
virality, yeah, for sure.
Look, I can understand if you're asking about something with, let's say, very technical and sensitive sort of legal consequence that you're asking. Yeah, fine, okay. You want to get the wording absolutely spot on. In that instance, crack on. If you're asking about dueling the A1 or you know, whatever else it is, if it's an issue of alleged import to your constituency, it should be important enough that you can stand up and ask the Prime Minister a question about it in 30 seconds.
Yeah, and also you should probably know the constituents you're talking about. Like if you're standing up to be like, my constituents, Peter and Paul, have asked this. If you have to look down at your notes to check their names, how invested are you really? What was the second point I was going to get to that you made?
Starmer not answering the question.
Starmer is not, yes. Starmer is almost filibustering, isn't he? In a way that you might argue one Boris Johnson used to do, and one you may argue that, you know, used to earn criticism from
for sure.
Keir Starmer.
He must have a justification for all his decisions, but it's like he doesn't trust it to stand up to any sort of scrutiny or test or to stand up to public opinion. And you're treating both parliamentarians with contempt for not allowing them to do their job of holding the government to account, and it's almost like the public are too stupid to understand this. We don't need to answer this because it's almost above.
It's arrogant.
It is arrogant. It's above the understanding.
Okay, counter.
On a point of information, perhaps.
On a point of information.
Thank you, Ava.
Which you can reject, by the way.
Accepted.
Thank you.
Very generous of you, Ed.
He's a civil servant, right? At heart. He was at one point one of the most senior civil servants. And sort of the job of a civil servant is to be invisible, right? So you could argue that him not answering questions properly in PMQs is actually him avoiding making a headline. So like you think about the advice that some people receive before they go into select committee. I'll give you one. The BBC chairman. This sort of changed a little bit actually in the last round because they did give actually quite a number of answers. But they will not give you a lot of information. They'll say things like, actually, we'll write to the committee on that. And they just try to be as boring as possible because then it doesn't generate a headline.
Mm-hmm. They realise everyone's looking at this session, and if you answer it later, no one's going to pay any attention.
Yeah.
But that's still having contempt for the processes.
No. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But
are we saying trash PMQs? Are we saying end PMQs?
I really like the function of PMQs. I think I like the idea that you can ask the Prime Minister a question and then there's a sort of uncomfortable imbalance where you might say something like, will he agree to meet with me on this? And he might have been ignoring your letters for months, but now he said it in the chamber. He has to stick by it. But is the function being abused? Because if you're planting questions every single week, which is very clear to tell, when a Labour MP stands up to talk about how wonderful of a job the Prime Minister is doing in slashing welfare budgets, I think that, you know, it's like, is this really serving your constituents, or is this sort of a political game that actually doesn't really need to be played right now?
Yeah, agree. Sometimes it's good. Mike Martin, a Lib Dem MP, former soldier, asked about the return of abducted Ukrainian children. And Starmer didn't quite commit to it, but he essentially said that it was going to be a central part of the peace negotiations. And you could see that Martin was kind of pleased with the answer because he kind of thought, oh, you've sort of tied yourself in a bit of a knot there, that if the resulting peace deal doesn't involve the return of those 19,000 kids, you're going to be on the hook in the chamber. So, yeah.
John Whittingdale also used it, I would say, for its correct reason today, which was to ask about his two constituents who, I'm sorry, I'm going to laugh when I tell the story because it is so ridiculous. Two of his constituents were driving back from France and someone jumped in their roof rack, hid in there. When they got home, they opened the roof rack because they were like, what the hell is in there? And a man jumped out. And they rang the police.
That's terrifying.
They rang the police like, a man has just jumped out of our roof.
Where did he come from?
They get fined £1,500.
Yeah.
For people smuggling?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's...
Not checking.
Or driving
something like
offences.
that,
allegedly to try and put the onus on people crossing the channel to check for asylum seekers in their car.
Why don't they find the border force? Because you do get... I mean, we've been through before. Do you know that big heartbeat monitor that they put on the car?
How was that?
Yeah.
How was that missed at all?
Well, they clearly weren't really looking.
It's like they were doing it deliberately. Something stinks.
They've actually stumbled on a people smuggling gang in Kent.
I came back from Calais once with Harry,
R.I.P.
who used to work here, of course.
Yes.
And they were like, "Can you open your boot?" And we opened the boot, and Harry had like used the trip over to see, but one of the most devastating humanitarian disasters on our shores, to buy a lot of French wine. Oh God, that's such a snot. And like, the policeman was like, "And you're journalists?" I was like, "Yes."
It's the old school, baby. Should we try and make a bit of progress in the spirit of the Oxford Union? We're meant to be talking about Kemi Badenoch here.
You don't let anyone eat on a shoot.
No, famously. It's the only rule. Feed your shooter.
And you violated that with me several times.
You did look very well, though.
Oh, yeah, it was skinny, long hair.
Okay, so should we talk about the clip?
No, keep going. Counter, yes.
Kemi Badenoch pointing out that Starmer has reneged on several of his manifesto commitments or pre-election commitments, namely not to increase council tax, which he said it would actually increase by 5% last November, is when they signed it off. Another one of those commitments was that actually her comment about the breakfast clubs was a bit rude. She was
60p breakfast clubs, a bit demeaning, wasn't it?
Well, it was a bit demeaning as well, because, but my argument to that is like, well, yeah, it's 60p per child. That is like a serving of cereal and a bit of toast, possibly a bit of fruit. Like, I don't know if she knows how like things work when you buy it in bulk quantities. Like, do you think that like the government gives like a child 60p and says, right, go down the newsagents? Yeah, like
the government must pay more for clementines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's got some gall, hasn't she? Because she was, of course, part of the government that decided we did not need to extend free school meals. Do you remember that bastard Marcus Rashford?
Yeah.
What's happened to him?
We went to a villa. He's quite good again.
Evil bastard.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah, he's
shit on the villa.
Yeah, Marcus Rashford. He put his head above the parapet, wouldn't he? Farage would have gone.
Why doesn't Starmer make the positive case for raising taxes?
Because he's raising capital off of people who don't have it.
But why wouldn't he say, this is the course of action we're taking, and these are my reasons for doing it? Not just £22 billion black hole, fiscal ineptitude, yada yada, like blaming, worst inheritance for a generation, etc., etc., etc. Why doesn't he say, in the Labour Party, we believe that a 2% uplift in national insurance contributions from employers, for example, or otherwise, is a relatively minor addition, and the net of us making that tax increase funds the following things. And, making the case like we believe that people who can afford it should pay their taxes. Because the whole exchange was Badenoch saying it's a jobs tax, you're hurting business. There are trade-offs in government. People win, people lose. And the win from it is the money you get from it can fund X, Y, and Z. Why doesn't he make the case in that positive manner?
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that I think it's a very difficult argument to make. And he would argue that he is actually making the case that you just put forward, right? Those are the things that he's arguing. He's like, you're not going to clear the backlog unless you get cash from somewhere. You can't just magic cash. There's no magic money tree, to coin Theresa May. But what was interesting, I was thinking about this last night, and I was thinking about Runcorn and how they're going to tackle that by-election. And I was thinking it's such an easy win for reform, right? Because what they can argue is immigrants are taking all of your jobs, and that's why you're so poor, and we're going to get rid of the immigrants, vote for us, right? But just park that. I know that's a nonsensical argument, but that's the train that they're going to get on. Starmer is like in this impossible scenario at the moment where even if reform start launching attacks on him about immigrants stealing their jobs, he'll have to go, no, they're not. We're stealing your jobs. We're the ones who fight national insurance. Mm-hmm. We're the ones who took the money away from the pensioners. We're the ones who've, you put inheritance tax on farmers. So like Labour are basically in this really tricky position where they have to either they have to defend that immigrants are not taking away from you. They are. I just think that's incredible.
Yeah.
Or could they do a better job of presenting big business and the private sector as the villain in this? Like, for instance, supermarkets don't have to put on those costs onto the consumer. Like, nursery chains don't have to put those costs onto the parents buying childcare. It's a decision that they're making internally to pass those costs on. Yeah. Whereas it's a tax on business. It's the businesses that are deciding to make it a tax on people.
The invisible hand, Ed.
Absolutely, can't argue with it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Tesco. It's a real pleasure meeting the marketplace of ideas.
Oh, to be caressed by the invisible
and Emma,
hand.
the economist that we had on, and that video went out yesterday, she actually argued that the invisible hand metaphor had been wildly misinterpreted by men who used it for their own means. She said the invisible hand is actually very caring.
Really? Single? One hand, a caring personality. It's a good evening.
Show them the clip?
Yeah.
Roll the clip.
With 1 in 8 young people across the country not in education, employment or training, people in rugby are worried about a wasted generation. Too many people with disabilities and health conditions are not getting the help that they need to get into work. So will the Prime Minister set out how this government will give everyone who is able to work the support they need, provide compassion to those who can't work, and fix the broken welfare system left behind by, you guessed it, the Conservatives?
There's a horrible little reader for you, Ed.
He's got glasses, Ollie.
It was more to do with him reading out his question word for word. Ed, tell me more about the wasted generation in rugby.
Well, if we had a better forward pack, then I think we'd be consistently making a challenge for the Six Nations. And in a rugby nation of Scotland's size, have we been punching above our weight anyway?
Happy with third?
I think we'll get fourth, will we not?
I just meant generally.
Not really. No, I think we should kick on. I'm kind of Townsend out at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Said, yeah,
Townsend out. Wow.
Townsend out.
Wow.
Anyway, what's rugby?
What is rugby? Yeah, good point. Town near where I'm from, actually. NEETs, Ava Santina. NEETs, not in education, employment or training. 1 in 8 young people across the country.
You had to give them an acronym.
That's what they're called. That's what they are.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting to me is that some consultancy firm probably came up with that, and the government probably paid them like $100,000 to do it. There was a great piece in The Critic about the sort of consultancy spend that was going on during the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
Like this one consultancy firm was handed over like millions of pounds to come up with ways of like people could safely walk around a hospital, and they concluded that arrows were very good. It's just astonishing.
Do you ever wonder what we're doing here and not caning money from the government and the private sector? We could set up like a social media consultancy for the government, and it would do quite well.
Well, yeah, because all we do is what we do here, but like for them, and they just can't master it.
Yeah, and that's why they give us the big bucks.
Some of the fucking videos that they're putting out at the moment. I'm passing the phone to one of the strongest women I know.
Oh, I've not seen that.
This morning?
No. Who was it? Who's the recipient?
Keir Starmer.
That's good, isn't it? Keir Starmer's a girl.
Oh, Prime Minister, you big girl.
I'm playing the heel, all right? Was it Angela Rayner?
No, it was
It was Liz Kendall. She removed £3 billion from the disability benefits budget.
A girl who'd set up like the first football club in her school.
Oh fuck! Now I feel like a dickhead.
No, I thought that was.
She's the strongest woman you know.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know one woman?
Name one woman, Ed.
couldn't possibly pick. Too many to choose from. All their achievements running around my mind. Not being objectified though.
Yeah. Always thinking about women and their achievements, Ed.
Absolutely. Never their looks.
No, never. Never.
Do you think that's what they wanted from this discussion of needs?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so anyway, the NEETs.
Talk to me about NEETs, Ava.
Well, Ollie, what you may fail to remember.
Oh.
What you may fail to remember is there was this thing called the pandemic.
I had expunged that from my memory.
And that, arguably that contributed to a crisis in mental health, specifically around people who are now of working or higher education age, right? It took a bit of a toll on their mental health. And what was really good about this time was it was also at a time when a lot of the austerity cuts could be felt most. Firstly, through a lack of COVID, non-preparedness, but also with a lack of mental health provision. So you might have found during the pandemic that you actually had like very serious chronic depression. And instead of being offered proper talking therapies by the NHS or a therapist that you couldn't afford privately, you were put on drugs. Okay? And so now we've got this big drug boom in the UK with a lot of young people now dependent on medications. And instead of going, we should really fund the mental health sector to help people get off of these drugs and alleviate some of the symptoms of their mental health, they've instead said, actually, we're going to lambast you in the House of Commons. Is that fair?
I think that's a fair summary. I don't think it's a fair response from government. Yeah. I don't think we've fully reckoned with how cooked people got from the pandemic.
Oh no, it's bad.
I think it just keeps going and going and going.
What was the most pandemic thing that you did?
I know what someone on this team did.
What?
They're not on camera.
I know exactly what this is. Yes. Well, we simply have to reveal it now. That's good stuff.
Okay, we'll bleep that out.
Pandemic brain. Yeah, I'm trying to think what I did. It was just bad.
Yeah, it was dreadful.
I went to work every day. I parked on Leicester Square. It was amazing.
I'm glad you had a nice time.
On the square. Well, I actually worked throughout all of it. You lot just sat at home and got all of your salary.
I didn't have a salary.
Did you have no cash at all coming in?
I was living at home.
Oh, right.
That's bad, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I was living in a warehouse at the time and there were a few car parking spaces out the front of it. We didn't have any outside space. So we started like lying out on those car parking spaces and the police would come round to tell us to go back inside.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Back in your hutch.
Oh, absolutely.
Fuck.
They said that those parking spaces belong to the council and the council might need them.
They might need them?
Yeah. And our
What
argument
for?
was, well, can't we move if someone from the council appears?
No, because they kind of materialise. It's quite a binary need or don't need. And there's no in between.
Did you listen to them?
No, I mean, we would go out there all the time. I think this was sort of pre-fine rhetoric or whatever.
Do you remember when they were like flying drones around national parks? Like telling off hikers for being outside for too long?
Oh my gosh.
Fining people for sunbathing in parks.
Yeah, the sunbathing thing was actually mental.
Absolutely clapped.
You'd take a brief sit down. I'm not, but if I had been a smoker, I would have maybe wanted to take a quick perch and have a cigarette. And you'd have some like...
Job's worth.
No, you'd have like some fucking police car driving through the park with a thing going, go home. You go
That's
home.
not nice when the Home Office turns its attentions to you. I understand the problem with it now.
What do we think?
Oh, that's good, isn't it? They should have just repurposed Teresa's vans. Yeah.
And deported
I
you.
didn't even think about it like that.
What do we think of people being equated with their economic worth and economic productivity? Good? Bad?
Well, it's very difficult to quantify someone's economic worth, right? You can quantify like someone who's on a salaried income, right? Say you've got like a traditional nuclear family. You could quantify like how much that, let's just go basic, the man of the house is paying to the exchequer, is spending in the economy via the salary that he earns from the job that he does, right? But say hypothetically, there's a mother in that equation who's looking after a disabled son. Is she economically productive? Or is she a sack of waste?
Waste of skin.
Yeah.
I think the rhetoric around it suggests that she and her son are drains on the economic provider. That's why people talk about benefits, and people talk about supplementary incomes, or like just benefits, I guess, in general, is that it's always provided by the taxpayer, and it's always this costs the taxpayer this amount of money. Benefits costs this amount of money.
From what do human beings derive their value and worth for you, Ed?
Me personally, I think it is work and my job. I think that's like largely how I see myself.
But not just like the monetary value of the job, right? Like, do you not like is it also like the sort of the self-worth and the freedom that the job gives you?
Yeah, it's like the image of the job, I suppose. And I think most of my friends are like that. I don't really know anyone. This is sad, isn't it? Who doesn't define themselves by their job.
Well, I guess it changes, doesn't it, when you start if you have children?
Yes. Well, I think Ollie's my only friend who has a child, so he's not really my friend, anyway. Anyway,
that's why I was raising my eyebrows there, isn't it?
But like until
not requited.
Like very few of my friends are married.
Girlfriend.
Very few of my friends
He's the
have
father
children.
of your children.
I'm Ollie's wife. Mask off.
We've had some great gags on this. I'm your wife. Keir Starmer's a girl.
Gay's funny. Girl's funny.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the problem, right? This is government by economist and lawyer, and if you boil down the sum worth of a human being to what is your contribution to GDP, you end up with some pretty heartless policy outcomes, right?
I don't even know if it's heartless. I wonder if they're just sort of unhelpful policy outcomes. Because, I'm sorry to bring up that economist again. I'm just obsessed with her. She was talking, Emma Holton, she was talking yesterday about how in Denmark, they cut disability payments, childcare payments, and then the number of women who left work spiked by 400% because they had to go and look after them. So but how do you quantify that in the economics of that year, right? In the contribution to GDP? Because you can make the argument that, well, they're not in work anymore, so they're now not paying their taxes and they don't have extra capital to spend on their local high streets, right? How do you quantify that?
Yeah, for sure. I also meant the slightly farty point as well. You know, what is the purpose of a human being, right? You know, is it to be a worker drone in the economy, or is it to make art and have friendships and go out, drink 8 pints and have an absolute legend of a night out? Like, do you want your existence to be I am a net contributor to the exchequer? Or do you want your existence to mean something slightly deeper than that?
Is here a good point?
Sisyphus, shouldn't we?
Is here a good point to roll the Richard Bergen clip?
Yeah, roll the clip.
Speaking of rolling.
Disabled people in my constituency are frightened. And they're frightened because they're again hearing politicians use the language of tough choices. And they know from bitter experience that when politicians talk about tough choices, it means the easy option of making the poor and vulnerable pay. So instead of cutting benefits for disabled people, wouldn't the moral thing to do, the courageous thing to do, be to make a real tough choice and introduce a wealth tax on the very wealthiest people in our society?
You know what? Richard Bergen usually pisses me off.
Oh, why?
I just don't like his delivery.
He definitely has learned that you don't need to shout all the time.
And he wasn't reading there.
Well, there we go. We've got to the bottom of it.
A couple of ticks in the common for Richard.
Point well made. Insightful. Searing. Cutting. And yet. This is, I guess this kind of touches on the point I was making about tax. You know, you can talk about taxes as a thing to raise for the good of the country. And I suppose it's the politics of the Labour Party currently writ large. Someone in the Socialist campaign group of the left of the party on the backbench, right at the back of the chamber, addressing a Prime Minister of the Labour right and asking him why he won't make the case for taxes or increase taxes in that way.
Yeah, and I think the point about him, you know, the point he's making is that people are frightened because they don't really know what it means yet. They don't know what it looks like. And a week is a long time to basically be sitting at home wondering if you're going to have your car taken away from you. You know? Yeah. Ed, thoughts on Bergen?
Yeah, I think it's just there's a clearer Richard Bergen was clearer about his economic thinking there than Starmer has been in the House of Commons in quite a long time. As in Starmer, I think since Labour launched their manifesto, like I remember in the summer, Labour was saying we will be making tough choices for the good of the country, and they've just kind of abandoned that messaging. They're just doing the tough choices, and people are getting angry, and then they're not even saying "I told you so." They have really lost the grip of the economic messaging. Like initially, the £22 billion black hole line was good and like convincing, and people got the message. But now they've run it into the ground, and people are reacting to it like my father was a toolmaker. It has the same kind of beats. Like you know exactly what he's going to say. It's like I didn't really realise this until just now, but I wasn't expecting anything that interesting from Starmer today, from Prime Minister's questions, and I think that's a feeling that I've probably had for a couple of months now, in that you're kind of watching it, looking for what he's going to say to make Kevin Badenoch look silly, rather than here's an illuminating peek at my political thinking and my vision for the country, and yeah, you're asking me tough questions. I welcome that scrutiny. Here's my vision for Britain. It's sort of, how can I get out of this unscathed? And he should have an answer as to why he's not doing a wealth tax. Is it? And maybe the answer is because I promised not to have a wealth tax during the general election, and now I've tied both hands behind my back.
But he also promised the non-dom thing, right? And they've reneged on that, which you could argue is a wealth tax.
And it's like, and I suppose it's like whenever Reeves announces that the fiscal rules have changed, and everyone's like, well, yeah, because you make them up.
Yeah.
Like, you can just change things.
Yeah.
You are the government. You aren't beholden to what you said maybe 9 months ago, especially in like a completely different geopolitical sphere.
I think you maybe made this point on Monday or on another recent pod. There are plenty of other things that you didn't promise to do in your manifesto that you have done or have literally broken the rules on. So it doesn't really stand up to say, you know, well, we said we wouldn't do that in the manifesto, so we're not going to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel dispirited.
I feel quite exhausted by it. I think that the decision to go after it almost feels like, let's go with Sisyphus again. It does honestly feel like we're
just learned about Sisyphus.
Every single person that ends up standing behind that dispatch box just basically tries the same fucking rock up that hill every single time, which is like, it's a combination of demonise the immigrants, people who are on benefits are scroungers, and old people have it too good. Oh, and
that's
by the way,
a new one.
Oh yeah, that is a new one, isn't it?
That's quite a recent innovation. That's an extra rock.
That is an extra rock. Let me take that one back. Young people are lazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a fair third.
Yeah.
Yep.
Give you that.
And that rock keeps rolling and rolling. And I don't know what it is. It's like, it makes you wonder, like when they get into government, do they basically just lose all sense of themselves? Do they sort of just give up and think, well, this anti-immigration stuff has worked quite well for people in the past? And by worked quite well, I mean, it's got them into power, but it doesn't normally keep them power. So they've sort of almost done it in reverse, really, isn't it? It's a bit of a waste of time now, starting to demonise people from other countries. You're already in power. You don't need to do this.
Yeah. So I guess you said there's a pattern of behaviour emerging now with Starmer, in that he tacks to the right after he wins the election that he needs to win, whether that's the Labour membership, whether it's a general election. It's like he says one thing, and then the way he campaigns and the way he governs are two different things.
I'm really glad that you brought up tax there. Tax. Yeah. Do you remember the West Streeting shipping analogy?
No, but yes.
Go on.
Yes.
Remind us.
He said something, didn't he?
It's absolutely.
He's the captain of the ship, and it's ship shape. Was that it? I don't think it was. I hope it wasn't.
You're in for a real treat. Maybe you're not, because it's not loading.
Now we wait.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
West Streeting. 5th of July, 1 a.m. He's on the BBC. He says, the only reason we have sails on the ship and the ship is shipshape is because Keir Starmer took the vessel from a shipwreck in 2019 and made it shipshape and seaworthy.
You know the thing about don't mix metaphors? Don't also just keep to the same metaphor to the nth degree. You're allowed to mix it a bit if it sounds better than that. Was that the 5th of July? Was that the morning after the election? Mm-hmm. Well, he was tired.
Look.
Maybe cut some slack.
Yeah, he wasn't shipshape, was he?
No.
Was he seaworthy?
Could possibly say. What was that?
I think it was talking about someone's tits, wasn't it?
Was it Sydney Sweeney's?
She's seaworthy, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. I wouldn't know. Her eyes are too close together.
She's got eyes.
Yeah, look, I think I will take an extended, painful shipping metaphor over reading off a piece of paper. Like, at least it's something different, you know?
Such a low bar. I thought your bar was going to be quite high.
It doesn't need to be a Shakespearean soliloquy.
I would take a ship metaphor over taking away the PIP payments. I'm just saying, look, I'm saying the tough things. Ollie won't say it. You'll never get that out of Ollie.
Ollie says if you announced the removal of PIP payments in such fluency, he will forgive you. If you if you do it in a rhyming couplet, in a limerick, even
Blank
better.
verse.
Blank verse. It's not just a speech. Is that just prose?
Okay, should we give you a question that you have to ask in the chamber?
No.
Let's see if you can
No,
do it.
no.
Oh, wow, it's not so easy now,
Yeah.
is it?
I'm not a fucking MP.
Point of order,
Pussy bitch.
Mr. Dugmore.
Can I just say, I'm so for bringing back pussy bitch as an insult.
Pussy bitch.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? That was Zelensky called Musk. Or are we just calling people pussy bitch?
Did Zelensky call Musk a pussy bitch?
Was that
Say
no? Was it
something
no
quite
Van?
funny
No
in
Vans?
Russian.
He said bitch in Russian.
Oh,
Didn't
I
he?
thought it was pussy bitch.
If there's a Russian word, if there is a Russian word that directly translates as pussy bitch, I want to start saying it all of the time.
People would be questioning your politics, I think.
Suka, was that it?
I don't know.
Oh, the
seems like
BBC
soccer.
obviously aren't going to report it, are they? Pussy bitches. Did Zelensky swear? Zelensky?
I think it's a good escalation from Fanny.
Pussy bitch?
Yeah.
Yes, Fanny's sort of like, oh, you're a fanny, you're a pussy bitch. It's more
I did-
aggressive.
Bitch fucker.
That's what the translation.
Bitch fuck, yeah.
What, as in like a noun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are a bitch fuck.
I think a bitch.
No, like he whispered at him through gritted teeth.
Bitch fuck.
He whispered. The slang phrase, also spelled as
Spell it.
he's said to have uttered suka blayat.
I didn't have the second bit.
What is it? Do you think that? Am I saying that right? Do you think?
Yeah.
Sugablat.
Oh, thank you to our correspondent in the corner.
Russian expert.
Say it again. She's got a nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
Is there anything she can't do?
No.
God.
Yet to find it.
Anyway, so that it could be son of a bitch fuck, or fuck you bitch.
Fuck you, bitch. It's so funny.
I think calling the the vice president like a bitch that's very strong play from Zelensky.
Fuck you, bitch. It's so funny.
Pussy bitch would have been better though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we should. Do you think you're allowed to say that in the House of Commons?
You'd have to say it in context.
If someone had called you it and you quoted it.
That
Woman dropped the non-anatomical cunt in the chamber once, didn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Non-anatomical.
Yeah.
You know, I think
Sure, there's only
you don't come
pejorative.
off well when you say that you only like cunt as like a pejorative rather than as like a like anatomical.
But surely it's just pejorative. Like a doctor's not going to say cunt.
But do you remember she
Yeah,
did the
when
other
I go
day?
for my smear test, they go, right?
Oh, was this
out.
a Monday? I wasn't here.
No, I think
No,
you're right.
I did
you were
not
on
go
it.
for a smear test on Monday.
I don't know where you go for a smear test, Ava.
You do, it's in your calendar.
No, she on a couple of records ago, she used it literally.
Right.
Not talking about. I can't remember what it was. You said something like,
I said I was talking about the porn bot that always defends me.
"Yes,"
Twitter.
and you, and you said it tweets pictures of full cunt. I think is what
Oh,
you said.
exactly.
No, I said you click on her page and there she is, cunt out.
Yeah, right.
And you looked at me as if the blood actually drained from your face.
Yeah.
What's better, snatch out?
Snatch, is that what you prefer? Snatch.
Minge?
Mingy.
Is that
Yeah.
not just the front?
Just the front.
Is that not just the front bum?
Core, look at the back minge on her.
Oh, for the love of God!
I don't know why people don't take us seriously, you know. I'm still trying to figure it out. Fucking hell.
She's throwing her back minge back. Holy shit.
Any others? What do you prefer?
You have 6 minutes for 2 more clips.
We've got more clips to do.
Yeah, I mean, I could keep riffing on this, to be honest.
Back
with you.
minge?
There are worse ones, obviously, but you don't say them in public, and you certainly don't say them on a podcast.
Just from your
There's a guy now who
private Twitter.
clips it and tries to cancel us. So I'm not gonna.
This?
Yeah,
Does he?
Yeah,
I missed
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Oh
So
no.
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
say.
you know, he's a free speech advocate as well.
What's his problem?
Well, speech is only free if it's the right speech. If you're saying the speech that they want you to say, then it's free.
Yeah.
Okay, someone's
But if we say speech, can I just confront again? If one more person, I'm going to offer a little guide to the left. If you are on the right and you're not familiar with left and infrastructure and intricacies of how it all blends together, for example, if you're one of the people who thinks that we're Blairites, I'm available for consulting. I can explain this to you.
100 grand.
You know,
brother.
when we say things like, "Oh, the Iraq bad," that doesn't make us Blairites. Other one again. You people saying that I'm a socialist because I appeared at the Fabians. Fabians, not socialist. Just to be clear, not just to be very, very clear. So anyway, if you're interested in the structures or whatever, why don't you ring me? We'll have a chat.
Bill by the hour.
Bill by the hour will be there all. I can explain to you. I reckon we could do like a quick crash course in 15.
We're also not sixth formers.
Oh.
We get that a lot. This is like a sixth form debating.
But I think that's an insult.
Class.
That's not literal.
Well, that's also an insult. The Blairite thing's an insult.
No. I think no. They actually think we're Blairites. They're like, these guys did not know politics existed pre-97. Like all that.
What's he laughing about?
He's laughing at you. Yeah. Sean's having a good chuckle back there.
Do you know what I also think is a really
him.
interesting insult? That
No, I knew that.
How the tables have turned, sir!
I meant in reaction to what Ollie said. I knew he was laughing at me.
I've been getting a lot of a few people going through my pictures either on Instagram or old posts I've put on Twitter and asking me if I'm a man.
Are you being transvestigated?
I'm being transvestigated, and I genuinely do not care. Like, just to let you know, if you would like to make...
Sounds like it.
Huh? No, can I tell you something? Can I actually make a really serious point about this?
You may.
My very serious point is that, like, I was wondering, like, the other day, I was looking at it and I was like, this annoys me, but not because you're transvestigating me. It annoys me because, like, it's so weak. And I wish that you could construct actually something offensive to say to me that would hurt my feelings, because that doesn't. And then I was like, I'm actually in quite a privileged position that doesn't hurt my feelings, because there are a number of people who that would upset, right? Anyway,
I love your energy right now.
I quite like the idea that I have a mask energy. I agree. And I have the penis to match.
The transvestites are going, come on! I was hoping it was going to be Michelle Obama, but we got Emma! Oh, she admits it!
He admitted! Oh, God.
Transvestigators, if you want to sit down and interview
Do you
with
know?
Ollie and I,
We'll tell all. Do you know? Before we started the record, I said the podcast isn't as slutty as it used to be. And you
I
said...
thought you said smutty.
no, he said slutty.
When was it slutty?
Yeah. And you said, no, we're going to do PMQs. And yet, Ava Santina, you've told everyone that you've got a knob.
It's blue.
Oh, fellas.
But why does it matter?
It doesn't.
It doesn't
at all.
Why does it matter?
It doesn't matter at all,
But
no.
even if I did, why are you freaks on the internet? Like, why do you have to mentally undress people all the time?
Yeah.
Like, you're so horny, you can't even see, like, the cock from the cunt. Like, it's just so mental.
Did it again.
The testes from the back minge. Do we think that...
Can I tell you guys something?
My mum listens to every episode of the podcast.
No!
She does, yeah. And when you behave like this, she texts me about it.
Did you not enjoy it?
No, she loves it.
Okay, good.
Oh no, that's a really bad. I don't like knowing that.
Well, there you go.
My parents listen to this.
My parents want nothing to do with any of my career. Like they don't get me wrong. They're like, I'm really, really close friends with them. But even if they're like, it was funny.
We keep in touch.
No, but like I see them, like weekly or whatever. Like we'll go drinking weekly or whatever, and they have got no interest. My dad, if I do this, if I do the papers on Sky in the morning, my dad changes the channel.
Yeah, I quite like both. I like both extremes.
I don't inflict this on my friends either, but my parents do it.
Begrudgingly.
Yeah,
to support Ed.
My dad's got really into Times Radio recently.
That feels like a pointed thing. Like he could be getting his news from you.
Well, yeah,
It's not on the radio.
We just talked about cock and cunt for the last 10
No,
minutes.
stop. You have done that. We've done quite a few PMQs clips.
He really likes Times Radio, and then the other day he was driving up to go and see Wolverhampton, Everton, and then he was like, "Oh, Jesus fucking Christ!"
Right.
I think we, yeah.
I think we're there. I think it was a good episode.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Are you?
Yeah. Are you not happy with
Actual
me?
highlights of PMQs will be available on our YouTube if you'd like to go and watch them.
No, come on. We did 3 clips.
We did do 3 clips, yeah.
Yeah, we
didn't
did.
get to Zara Sultana, who I thought was very good. But look,
And again, Starmer didn't answer that
you can
question.
go. Yeah, he didn't answer. But you can go and watch that on our other.
TLDR, he didn't
compilation.
answer. He was being a back minge, front minge, some say. No,
I don't want that to enter the lexicon.
I think it's gone. I think that's in the ether.
Cunt's gone.
Can I plug my Atherstone ball game video?
Go on, Ed.
Head over to the joe.co.uk YouTube channel and watch my video from the Atherstone ball game, one of the most violent traditions in the UK. It was a very good, fun day out.
I've watched it. It's a good video.
Thank you.
Go and watch it.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No.
Thank you, Ava.
Thank you, Ava.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone, for being here.
Leave a comment in the subreddit.
Yes.
Let me know how the investigation concludes.
Do you think they're going to do the Chilcot inquiry?
Shall I give them like a...
Photoshop your head onto like a ripped dude. Is that...
Sometimes.
the Adam's apple. I'm trying to make like an Adam's apple. So stupid.
The thing... I sometimes worry because after we record this, they then come in and record the pub quiz. And Kevin Ashman, 6 times world quizzing champion, appears on the pub quiz.
Yeah.
And I worry sometimes that he's sat in the green room listening to the conclusion of the Politics podcast.
Kevin?
No, he's not there.
He's
All right.
Not chatty today.
He stormed out.
Thumbs up the video.
Yes.
Give us a like.
We are not still doing the outro. You
Leave 5 stars wherever you
They're
get your podcast.
so sick of us.
No, if they're listening to this, they love us.
Please get your comments in now. Oh, if you 3 actually managed to get through one clip, then maybe the left would survive, or whatever it is. Oh, a bunch of sixth formers. We're not actually sixth formers.
I'm 28. I've not been at school for 11 years.
They think we're sixth formers.
You can't give me detention. Just kidding, never had detention. Wasn't me. Wasn't my scene. Rules are rules. Follow them.
Like and subscribe.
Absolutely.
Follow us on Instagram.
Yep. X.com. The Everything app.
If you don't think that you're getting enough traction on your YouTube comment criticising the podcast, there's always the subreddit.
Or email Ollie.
ed@joe.co.uk.
Ed reads all your emails.
They did email me quite a lot for a bit. And I did read them all. Lots of them were very nice.
All right, I think we've done enough now.
No?
I'm running out of call to actions.
Tell a friend. Tell 2 friends to listen to this. Maybe don't pick this episode.
And receive 0 months free.
If you're listening to this, we know you don't have any friends. We're your friends.
We are your friends.
Tell us if you listened.
Absolutely. That's it.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Should we draw it to a close?
Why? There's
shut the
plenty
door?
more to say.
Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.